welcome to Culture here on I-24 News. I'm Oded Grober. Thank you so much for joining me. Today on our show, we'll talk to a member of Komuna, Warsaw about their upcoming performance in Israel. The new fashion trends for Muslim women in Russia. And we'll hear about Playboy's big change. Komuna Warsaw is a group of artists from different disciplines, such as performing arts, video, and installation. This week, they are performing their work Paradise Now? At the Komuna Festival in Tel Aviv. The work is a restaging and reimagining of the 1968 piece by New York's Living Theater. I'm very happy to have Alex Novak from Komuna Warsaw here in the studio to tell us all about it. Thanks for coming in, Alex.
Thank you.
So give us a little bit of background about this work, Paradise Now.
It belongs to a cycle we called Remix. The idea is obviously taken from music, but it's an original work which in some way draws on the elements of an important work of theater from the past, which belongs broadly to the avant-garde or experimental theater tradition.
Which is something that you've been doing for a while with different works.
Yes, the remix cycle contains 40 pieces produced over 4 years by different artists. Komuna produced them all, but some of them were our own works, and some were directed by and performed by other artists.
I see. And why did you pick this work, Paradise Now?
We wanted somebody else to remix Paradise Now originally, because it's a seminal work of very political, very engaged and utopian theater. It was produced in '68 when they really hoped that through art they can actually bring about Paradise Now and a conflictless world where everybody will love each other and there will be freedom and love and peace. Yes,
hasn't really worked out yet.
No, it hasn't, and certainly it's not going to happen through art. And that is really one of the important ideas in our show, that art should not be so directly political. That art should not be telling people how to live their lives or how to change the world. Art should be asking questions and inviting people to reflect, rather than calling directly for action. That's a job for politicians, not artists.
Interesting. Especially, when you bring it to a place like Israel, especially at a time like this, a place where pretty much everything is political, everything can be interpreted as a call for change. Were you trying to bring an alternative way of seeing things to Israel by bringing this here?
I don't know. We didn't produce this piece with Israel in mind. And any similarities of titles are purely coincidental. Our piece has a question mark. Living Theatre's performance was Paradise Now with an exclamation mark. That's the difference. Yes, we do want to invite people to reflect on how change is possible, what can be done. But we do not pretend to have recipes. What to do. We don't know ourselves. We've been trying to change our lives and perhaps haven't succeeded to the extent that we would have hoped.
All right. So you know what? Let's talk a little bit about your group. How does it work, Komuna Warsaw? I mean, with different people from different backgrounds, each obviously bringing something else, a different approach maybe. Are there set roles for different people in the group?
Not quite, and we never use our names in promoting our performances. So it says direction Komuna Warszawa, cast Komuna Warszawa, music Komuna Warszawa. Even though I could not possibly compose one single note of music, we don't credit individual members. It's a group that started in 1989. As an anarchist community of action, and you're allowed to laugh. After 20 years, we changed this idea. We changed the name also from Komuna Otwock to Komuna Warszawa, and published a manifesto saying that we no longer are hoping for a revolution through art. That's why also this piece, Living Theatres piece, and our critique of it is important because it reflects on our own trajectory as a group, from direct political engagement. And actually, Komuna started more as a political group, more as a socially activist group than as a theater. It evolved from street actions, street performances, happenings with a political content into street theater, and then normal sort of theater for the bourgeoisie.
Interesting. Have you performed in Israel in the past?
Yes, we have. Actually, no, not so much. No, we haven't actually performed. We ran a workshop for Israeli artists before.
It's interesting that you know, as this change with the group happened, that you're coming to perform here. It's becoming less and less political, especially at a time like this. By the way, did you have second thoughts about coming, given what's been happening in recent days, or at least, you know, how does it feel to perform now with what's going on?
It is very sad to see this senseless violence. And it's a difficult choice when it can be perceived, when our presence here can be perceived as taking sides or in somehow being engaged in this conflict. It is extremely disturbing, and we are very sorry to see loss of life on both sides.
Yeah, of course.
But next month we're going to New York, where the level of violence is much higher, and we're not having second thoughts because it's still much more dangerous to go to New York than Tel Aviv.
Yeah, I suppose it is. Lastly, you know, in the past you've been dealing with the future of Europe with different works of yours. Now this is kind of going to the past more, no?
Well, it's. You can't really separate them. This piece, Paradise Now, was kind of about the future. So we're looking at the past approaches to the future, and whether we can learn something about our own future from how they were wrong about theirs.
Maybe we can do a better job thinking of ours. Alex, thanks so much for coming in, and have a good time performing, and best of luck in the future.
Thanks a lot.
Now, even though Muslims make up 15% of the population in Russia, dress options for Muslim women were very limited in the country until recently. But now things seem to be changing. Daniel Campos has more.
Moscow is famous for the shiny domes and ceilings of its cathedrals. But beyond the Orthodox influences to the architectural and cultural beauty of the city, Islam also has its fingerprint on the Russian capital. Moscow's Grand Mosque was reopened after 10 years of large-scale renovations. Its main golden dome and tall minaret reflected the style of many Orthodox churches. And in the fashion world, Islamic influences are also starting to be felt. Young entrepreneur Alexandra Golovkova decided to create her own fashion line after failing to find beautiful but modest clothing appropriate in her faith.
Я думаю, дело не в необычности, а в том, как я себя ощущаю.
I think it is not about being unusual. It's about how I feel being covered up by my clothes. I feel calmer, more comfortable, cozy. As if there is a screen protecting me from the external world. I feel way more comfortable this way.
Я себя так чувствую гораздо комфортнее.
In the past 3 years, the result of warming in the behavior towards non-Muslims has improved the perception of so-called Muslim lifestyle in Russia.
When we came to the market, the industry was not at such high level. Now we organize markets in the very center of Moscow. We open beauty salons for Muslim women that, of course, can be attended by not only Muslims.
The variety of colors and textures available is countering the once limited dress options available for Muslim women.
I'm a beginner Muslim, so I decided to change clothes in my wardrobe to more closed dresses. I came here intentionally because I read about this trademark that make beautiful designs, good quality clothing for Muslims and even for those who have not decided to cover up entirely, but who wants to dress beautifully and virtuously.
и целомудрие.
In a moment, we'll talk about Playboy's surprising new format, but first, here's our cultural recommendation for today.
Bayeux was the first French town liberated from Axis power on June 7th of 1944. In 1994, the city created an award that would serve as a tribute to war correspondents who, at the risk of their lives, report and document from war zones with the intention of opening a window to the world. During the week, exhibitions, public screenings, book fairs, and debates. With many journalists present, the closing evening talks about the burning issues of the moment and finishes with the prize-giving ceremony.
And now Lauren Izo is here in the studio to tell us about big changes that are coming.
Huge changes. Major changes.
Yes.
So, you know the old joke about only reading Playboy for the articles.
What do you mean? It's a joke? Yeah, no, I do know. I heard it. Yeah.
Now,
I actually used it a few times.
You actually only read it for the articles.
No, I actually used that line. I only read it for the article.
Many people do. Yeah. But now this is actually becoming a reality.
Yeah.
Scott I'm so sorry to break this news to you, but Scott Flanders, the chief executive of Playboy, he told New York Times that starting in March 2016, there will be no more nude pictures in Playboy at all. Are you shocked?
Why? My question is why?
So basically, the age of the internet has really, really killed the sales of their magazines because people don't need to go to the store to pay, however much money to buy a magazine to look at pictures of nude women.
Okay.
So in 1972 was their highest sales. It was 7.16 million, and last year they only sold 800,000 magazines.
Wow. And they think that this move is going to make a change? I mean, it's not that people... Why? Are there so many people that are not buying the magazine because there are pictures?
Well, they actually removed nude models from their website, and their viewership has quadrupled. Wow. So I guess that was their experiment to see if this would work, and it's really helping them. But I mean, this...
So sex doesn't sell?
Apparently
is that what you're saying?
Well, not when you can get it for free. But I mean, this magazine is one of the most iconic magazines. It started in 1953. It really sparked the American sexual revolution after World War II. A quarter of all male college students after World War II were reading this magazine. It's, you know what I mean? It was the Playboy revolution.
Yeah, definitely.
And so many iconic celebrity women have graced the cover of Playboy.
And to be fair, it does have very good articles, very good interviews. It's a good...
they've always said that a huge focus for them is the journalism in their magazine, and a lot of people didn't take that very seriously, but there were some fantastic people featured in interviews, such as Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr., and a whole bunch of really amazing, iconic people. So now it gives people a chance to actually be able to look past these pictures and read the great articles that are inside of it.
Until March, we have till March
2016, so buy up.
a few more months.
Yes,
if that's what you're into.
Well, I mean, they're still going to feature provocative images of women, of celebrity women, but just nothing too provocative showing.
Well, to be absolutely honest, Playboy was never about being too provocative. All right, yeah, it's a matter of taste. Yeah.
Fair enough.
What else do you have?
Now, speaking of celebrities taking their clothes off, Emilia Clarke of Game of Thrones took some of her clothes off now for Esquire magazine. The edition is coming out in November. She has been named the sexiest woman alive by Esquire, which follows her being called the Woman of the Year from GQ last year. She is on fire right now. She is very, very beautiful, and she plays a really iconic female role of Khaleesi in Game of Thrones. I don't know if you're a fan.
Where she had to take off her clothes much more.
Exactly, and there was actually a lot of controversy about that because about a month ago she told a reporter from the Daily Mail that she's not so into taking her clothes off and having these sexual scenes in the show, and he sort of sensationalized what she said and said that she's not into it at all and she doesn't want to show anything on TV, and then later on she said that, well, that's not what she meant, and if it's, for the art and for the development of her character, her, then she's okay with it.
Right.
I mean,
although not that I've been following that much, but it has changed over the season. I mean, the first season of Game of Thrones, especially her character, was a lot more nudity involved, and as time progressed, as her character became more and more important, there was a lot less of that.
Yeah, and there was, I mean, a few nude or sexual scenes that she was a part of in the show that became very famous because of how graphic they were and how intense they were. There was a really famous rape scene with her. There was also a scene where she was actually breastfeeding her dragons, her pet dragons. So, I mean, she's become, her nudity and sexuality has become a huge part of the show, but she's really stood up for what she believes in, which is really good for her.
Good for her, and good for Playboy, and good for everybody. Thank you, Lauren.
Thank you so much.
That's it from us for today. Join us tomorrow for another edition of Culture, if you will. Bye-bye.